Tonight, a boy killed, his schoolmates injured after a car crashes through a Melbourne primary school. A mother arrested. Trust eroded by secrecy and lockdowns we never tolerate again. Australia's COVID response report card. A family of 6 flee their burning East Linfield home. A battery blamed for the blaze. Our new Black Hawk fleet takes flight over Sydney. Our troops put to the test. Free health checks for Sydney preschoolers, getting youngsters ready for class. And the mentoring role Wallaby outcast Israel Folau has played in the career of rugby star signing Joseph Swali'i.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. A young boy has died and 4 children are in hospital tonight after they were struck by a car that careered into the yard of a Melbourne primary school this afternoon. A 40-year-old mother who was behind the wheel is in custody. Police say she was picking up her own child when the crash happened.
A scene of heartbreak and despair inside the gates of Auburn South Primary School. 5 children perched on park benches under a sun canopy, struck by an out-of-control white SUV.
40-year-old female has driven to the school to collect a child. After collecting the child, she's performed a U-turn and collided into the fence of the school, crashing through the fence.
The victims all taken to hospital. One didn't make it.
A bit shaken, actually. Just heard all the sirens from home and we just live a street up, so yeah, very scary.
Lucy's young son among dozens of children who saw the horror unfold before their eyes.
Shaken up. They're all really, really shaken up. Yeah. They were all out there and they actually witnessed it happen. Everyone was just, like everyone that sort of was with their children, they were all just hugging each other, just supporting each other.
It happened on Burgess Street in Hawthorn East just after 2:30 this afternoon, during what's known as third recess. The vehicle, which had P plates displayed, coming to an eventual stop on the edge of a sports field. Its front bumper damaged on both sides, ambulance equipment still strewn across the turf.
It's a tragic circumstance. It's really tough for everybody involved.
Parents were first notified close to 3 p.m. via text message. The incident sending shockwaves through the school community, not least the many teachers who offered assistance in the frantic minutes following the smash. Their anguish plain for all to see. A visit too from local federal MP Monique Ryan on a day so many here will never forget.
Terrifying, far too close to home. It's a beautiful school with little kids. It's just, you don't think those things happen.
Penelope Leash, 9 News.
A major review into the COVID pandemic says Australia, like the rest of the world, was ill-prepared. It found public trust had been eroded and we are unlikely to ever tolerate another lockdown.
For most Australians, the horrors of the pandemic aren't hard to remember. Panicked queues, lingering lockdowns and blocked borders.
There was immense dislocation, separation, anxiety, grief and, as the Treasurer will point out, enormous economic impacts from the pandemic and our response to it.
An inquiry into how the Commonwealth dealt with COVID-19 released today. A field of experts finding while Australia fared well compared to other countries, we could have done better, criticising a lack of planning in key decisions, including closing our international borders and enforced quarantine. That state school closures were not evidence-based, also revealing delays in the vaccine rollout and subsequent lockdowns had a direct economic cost of $31 billion. And concluding trust has been eroded.
Our pandemic plans were grossly inadequate for the scale of the challenge.
Big decisions were taken and big mistakes were made. Those mistakes were costly and they were inflationary.
If Labor had their way at a federal level, there would have been an extra $81 billion that was spent. We saved lives and we saved livelihoods.
Given what they knew at the time, I think they acted appropriately. I think they put in place an appropriate amount of stimulus.
The report calls for 9 key recommendations to improve future responses to public health emergencies. They include better communication and coordination between federal, state and territory governments and establishing a new national authority dedicated to preventing and controlling diseases. In times of crisis, it would share data across jurisdictions and provide evidence to back decisions made. The federal government today responding to those calls, investing more than $251 million to set up the Australian Centre for Disease Control.
It won't be a set and forget in the future, but it'll be a constant change that's communicated to the public based on the best scientific evidence.
Many of the measures taken during COVID-19 are unlikely to be accepted by the population again.
Claudia Vradoljak, 9 News.
OK, let's go straight to Claudia. Claudia, the Minister said the pandemic has also negatively impacted child vaccination rates.
Yeah, that's right, Pete. While vaccine mandates were a major contributor to Australia's pandemic success, the report outlines it led to ongoing reluctance to receive the jab. Of concern now, there has been a drop in the uptake of critical routine vaccines for children, including for measles and whooping cough. And alarmingly, due to multiple reasons, experts say we're now worse placed as a country to deal with a pandemic than we were 2 decades ago. Pete.
Claudia, thank you. A family has lost their home and caravan after a fire broke out in their garage on the Upper North Shore. A lithium-ion battery is believed to have sparked the inferno, the second EV battery fire in Sydney in less than 10 hours.
A crackling fire swallows a caravan outside an East Lindfield property. The 2-storey home also alight, the flames spreading fast.
I am so scared right now.
A neighbour uses a garden hose to keep the fire at bay.
Oh my God, I'm shaking.
As a resident, having escaped in just his shorts, sits on the curb of Mycumben Avenue, his head in his hands.
I'm so sorry. Well, I did hug him, but then I realised he had burns on his right shoulder.
The man's wife and 4 daughters also fled their rental with just the clothes on their backs when the fire broke out around 1:30 this morning.
At first it was like little explosions, that's what woke me up, and screaming.
It took an hour to extinguish the flames. A firefighter suffered a hand injury and was taken to Northern Beaches Hospital. Paramedics also treated the male resident for smoke inhalation before taking him to the burns unit at Royal North Shore Hospital.
Neighbours have told 9 News the father has been sleeping in the caravan and he is lucky to have escaped with just minor burns.
Today, fire investigators got to work on determining the cause of the blaze.
At this stage, it is looking in and around the garage area. Some of the narrative has been in and around lithium batteries.
It marks the second blaze sparked by an EV battery in Sydney in less than 10 hours after an e-scooter fire at Harris Park yesterday.
This is why we're doing comprehensive research for the decision makers and the community so we can keep them safe.
At East Lindfield, Erin Ramsey, 9 News.
Peter Dutton has stepped up his criticism of the Prime Minister for his airline travel, saying Anthony Albanese should refer himself to the Corruption Commission for taking Qantas flight upgrades while Transport Minister. But the PM has struck back, saying Mr Dutton is a frequent flyer with a billionaire benefactor.
The spirit of Australia haunting the Prime Minister.
I have at all times, acted in a transparent and appropriate way.
Anthony Albanese's relationship with former Qantas boss Alan Joyce taking the government off course.
He was Transport Minister and he picked the phone up to the CEO of Qantas to get upgrades, some of which it seems were declared and others not.
Mr Albanese has received more than 20 flight upgrades over the years. He says he declared them all, some for personal travel with family members.
Did you call Alan Joyce personally for these upgrades?
There's no accusation being made with any specifics at all about any of this. None.
Although he does recall speaking to Alan Joyce about being on Qantas's first A380 flight to Dubai in 2013, along with other VIPs, and the national carrier's first direct Perth to London service 5 years later. 10 of his upgrades were during his month-long leadership ballot with Bill Shorten in 2013. Flights paid for by the Labor Party.
I think the Prime Minister should take the initiative to refer this matter to the Integrity Commission.
Peter Dutton seems to be obsessed with making attacks on myself, my family.
The PM saying it was Mr Dutton who had to answer for flights and hospitality he'd received from billionaire Gina Rinehart.
I've been very transparent. I've declared all of that, which is why Mr Albanese knows about it.
Dig deep enough and almost every politician has taken largesse from the corporates, so no one's copybook is clean. But the PM will be worried his everyman image is being eroded.
And in my time in public life, I have acted with integrity.
Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
A family from the state's Hunter region is mourning the death of their baby boy, who died in an accident while on holiday in Bali earlier this month. The child's father posting to Facebook saying Kaiden was one of a kind, always happy and cheerful, and the best baby brother. It's understood the family has now returned home to Singleton. The FBI has been called in after ballot boxes were set alight in 2 US states. It comes as Donald Trump's campaign tries to distance itself from racist remarks made at his rally in Madison Square Garden.
The smouldering remains of hundreds of ballots. Drop boxes in Washington State and Oregon targeted by arsonists with electoral integrity under a cloud of smoke.
We are modifying our ballot retrieval schedule.
But early voting continued, the outgoing president queuing up like 41 million other Americans.
Joseph Biden now voting.
Casting his ballot for his 2IC early in Delaware. With 8 days on the clock, his predecessor's campaign was on the defensive after racist remarks against Latinos.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
We have to stop getting so offended at every little thing.
Today, Donald Trump placed himself in the hands of God.
We thank you that you have raised up a man, Donald J. Trump,
hoping to firm up evangelical support.
Religion is under threat in this country, serious threat.
And in the state with the largest Arab American population, the vice president was faced with protesters.
On the subject of Gaza, we all want this war to end as soon as possible.
Kamala Harris and her running mate putting on a united front here in Michigan as America rounds the corner to an election where opinions and people are so divided.
It angers me because I heard several comments about other races in other countries, which is not fair.
Well, it's incredibly important that we get this right.
In Ann Arbor, Michigan, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
Thousands of new homes have been earmarked for Canterbury Bankstown, with buildings up to 24 storeys high near the station. The council is the first to come up with its own plan for what its area will look like under the state government's transport-oriented development program.
It's a program designed to build more much-needed homes closer to transport hubs. Canterbury Bankstown accepted the challenge, going beyond what the government was calling for.
This is exactly the sort of approach to strategic planning, to local solutions and to delivering more housing that we want to see.
Under the plan, 3,200 homes will be built within 800 metres of Canterbury Station. Buildings up to 24 storeys near the station, stepping down through 10, 8, 6 and 4-storey apartment blocks in stages.
We have gone with a higher and a much more dense around the train stations so we can preserve the character of the wider local community.
Helped by Canterbury Station being converted into a metro.
I think it's a great idea because it's close to the railway station, the bus line, and we need more convenience like that and get people off the roads.
New buildings will have to comply with strict design excellence clauses and provide public spaces.
It is important that we see those local parks, those local plazas, the local amenities being upgraded as we go.
The Mayor says that while public consultation on this plan has been wide, he accepts that not everyone will be happy. But he says that Canterbury Bankstown, given where it is, simply can't be a NIMBY council. This part of Canterbury has been earmarked for 6- and 8-storey buildings, long-term residents contemplating the impact.
It is a big change. It is if they're going to lock the view, because that's what we're here for, because of the view. It's a beautiful area. It's a beautiful area. I don't know what to do.
Cumberland Council is finalising plans for another 9,200 homes around Baralla Station over the next 15 years, with Canada Bay Council doing the same for more homes around North Strathfield and neighbouring Homebush. In Canterbury, Eddie Meyer, 9 News.
The third pilot killed in a mid-air collision at Balimbla Park in Sydney's southwest has been identified as Jake Anastas. The 29-year-old had been flying for half his life and was completing his commercial pilot's licence training when the crash happened. Jake's wife Tori has told 9 News he'll be remembered as a loving, caring and remarkable husband who had a tremendous impact on everyone in his life. She says he loved flying and made everything brighter, and he always made her feel like she could soar with him. The main UN agency responsible for distributing aid in Gaza has been banned from operating in Israel and labelled a terror group by the country. It comes as Israel's military claims to have arrested around 100 Hamas terrorists who'd been using a hospital to run their operations.
Palestinians in Gaza desperately need aid, but it could soon be restricted. Israel's parliament passing 2 bills banning the UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, from operating on Israeli soil, labelling it a terror group. Israel claims the agency's been infiltrated by Hamas militants.
UNRWA, as an organisation, is infected with terrorism. UNRWA simply must be replaced. That is the view of the Israeli government and the overwhelming majority of Israel's people.
UNRWA says those claims aren't true. Posting on social media, the vote violates Israel's obligations under international law.
We made quite clear that we are opposed to the implementation of that legislation and that there could be consequences under US law and US policy.
The new legislation, which won't take effect immediately, comes after the IDF arrested around 100 suspected Hamas terrorists at a hospital in northern Gaza. Israeli troops raiding the compound, releasing footage showing guns next to a hospital bed. This paramedic telling the IDF Hamas operate ambulances to transport their military operatives on missions. Speaking about Israel's actions, the hospital's director says, "Everything we've built, they have burned. They killed my son." In London, Hannah Sinclair, 9 News.
It was a spectacular debut for the Army's latest recruit at Holdsworthy Barracks. The Black Hawk helicopters replacing the old Taipan fleet were put through their paces today in a wartime simulation of a terror attack.
A siege and an Australian embassy and the Army in their brand new helicopters come to the rescue. It's the first time we've seen the $70 million Black Hawks in action. And Special Forces go to work. Explosions and gunfire and the terrorists are taken down. Before the troops are extracted from the scene, it's mission accomplished in this mock exercise.
I hope you saw an impressive display of Army's newest aircraft.
The first 10 of 40 US-made Black Hawks have arrived in Australia. They're replacing the Taipans. That fleet was grounded last year after a crash killed 4 servicemen.
From our perspective, we've moved on from the Taipan. It's about making this platform perform in the roles and the missions that are required.
And it's not just for combat. Their tasks will include responding to natural disasters. And in an effort to show off their new capability, the media was given a front row seat for a flight over Sydney. 3 choppers in formation, a very public show of force.
A warning to Sydney-siders, you soon may feel you're under attack. Over the next month, 10 Black Hawks will carry out airborne operations over the city, night and day at low level, training for the real thing.
You'll hear more noise, you'll see more aircraft and low-level flying. Please don't be alarmed.
It's a $3 billion investment. The choppers now the Army's new spearhead, not only overseas, but also in the skies above Australia in the fight against terrorism. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
It is time now for our first check of the day's weather. Good evening, Amber.
Good evening to you, Pete. We enjoyed a warm and partly cloudy day with moderate northeasterly winds. This is how it looked above the Parramatta River around lunchtime, the sunshine pushing temperatures several degrees above average. The city fell to just under 17 degrees this morning, reaching a warm 24 before lunchtime. Out west dipping to a mild 15 degrees around sunrise, slowly warming up to a top of 27. Tomorrow is looking even warmer, with some suburbs hitting the 30s, but we will see some showers before the end of the week. I'll be back to tell you when a little later, Pete.
Amber, thank you. Not in our backyard. The Toaster residents fighting 24/7 trading at a restaurant almost half a kilometre away. So, does it pass the pub test? The South West Sydney woman accused of being the getaway driver in an elaborate bluey coin heist. Never before heard details of the final days of disgraced detective Roger Rogerson. Plus, quite the haul. Diamonds, pearls and Rolex watches. The spoils of Australia's biggest tax fraud. A third person has been charged over the alleged theft of tens of thousands of bluey coins. The 27-year-old woman was arrested at a property in Green Valley in Sydney's southwest, accused of being the getaway driver. Police allege the limited edition currency was stolen from a warehouse in Wetherill Park in July. Disgraced Detective Roger Rogerson spent his final months bedridden in the aged care unit at Long Bay Correctional Hospital before suffering a major stroke in January this year. A coroner today confirming the crooked cop died from natural causes at the age of 83, while serving a life sentence for murder and commercial drug supply. The inquest heard he was drowsy and confused when transferred to Prince of Wales Hospital, where he was placed in palliative care. His family given a chance to say goodbye. In the first potential challenge to the new Eyes Wide Open laws, Circular Quay residents are fighting a pub's push to open 24/7. The government today hit back, telling people to get with the program.
It's the bid to transform the harbour city into one that never sleeps.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Very good idea. I think it deserves it.
None happier, though, than the pubs and restaurants along the foreshore who'll be able to open all day and all night. Among them, Squires Landing at Circular Quay, who've applied to do just that. The pub is requesting approval to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on a 1-year trial. But earlier this month, residents living in the ritzy Bennelong Towers, known as the Toaster, 400 metres across the water, sent a letter to the department opposing the application, saying noise travels faster through water. Police also reaffirmed their concerns in a letter stating they have received regular complaints from residents in the building and provided suggestions to control the noise.
I can imagine that it would be pretty horrible.
They need to go and get a life.
Look, we understand the residents' concern, but they've got to remember they're living in a global city.
The noise here isn't going anywhere anytime soon, with more restaurants and pubs also looking to open 24/7. The government says it's the price you pay to live along this foreshore.
It's a strange choice of address for someone looking to get early to bed.
In Circular Quay, Massilia Eiley, 9 News.
An Australian mayor is among 2 people shot dead in the country's north, believed to have been targeted by a man in a dispute over hunting permits. Did I say an Austrian? It should have been an Austrian mayor. A major search operation is underway tonight with the armed suspect still on the run. If I confused you, I do apologise. Next, Australia's peak Jewish body takes on an Islamic preacher. The Bankstown speech is now at the centre of a federal court case. The mother of Matthew Perry makes a heartbreaking confession a year on from the Friends star's death. We head to Mount Druitt for a special announcement. Free health checks boosted for preschoolers. The details coming up. And the new solar subsidy that could save you thousands. How you can cash in. Australia's peak Jewish body has filed legal action in the federal court against Islamic preacher Wissam Haddad over what it claims were anti-Semitic derogatory generalisations about Jewish people. They allege the podcaster breached the Racial Discrimination Act during speeches made at a Bankstown mosque last year.
This case is not about money. It's about racial discrimination, racial vilification and the peace and harmony of our community.
The Executive Council of Australian Jewry has also sought an injunction to have the online speeches removed. Items seized in one of the country's biggest tax fraud cases are now for sale. Diamond rings, high-end watches and designer handbags, all up for grabs in an online auction. Some of the items belong to Adam Cranston, the son of former ATO Deputy Commissioner Michael Cranston. Adam and his associates were imprisoned over the $105 million tax rort last year. Matthew Perry's family has given their first interview, marking 1 year since the actor's death. The actor's heartbroken mother revealing their final conversation.
On television, he was everyone's friend.
Should we get some coffee?
Sure. Where?
But to Matthew Perry's family, he was a son and a brother.
All he ever wanted was to love and to be loved.
What do you miss most about him, Madeleine? Everything.
His mother opening up on her anguish 1 year after the actor was found dead in a hot tub at his home in California.
It hits me so hard that he's not there.
Recalling one of their last conversations.
He came up to me and he said, I love you so much. And I'm so happy to be with you now. There was an inevitability to what was going to happen next to him.
Matthew Perry had a long and public battle with addiction.
I couldn't conquer it. I couldn't help him.
The 54-year-old died from the acute effects of the drug ketamine, which was supplied to him. Doctors and a Los Angeles drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen have been charged.
What do you think about the fact that there has been some accountability there?
I'm thrilled.
Co-star Jennifer Aniston also shared a tribute today. His family now runs a foundation in Matthew's name, helping others face their demons.
If it doesn't stop, we're going to lose so many million people.
In the United States, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
Sydney house prices have risen for a seventh consecutive time, up 0.6% over the September quarter to a record median of $1.65 million. It's the lowest quarterly rise since December 2022. The median price for apartments is up 0.9%, setting you back $815,000. Melbourne and Canberra were the only cities to see house prices fall. If you've been thinking about installing a solar battery but have been put off by the cost, there's a discount on offer. The state government scheme aims to take pressure off the electricity grid and reduce our reliance on fossil fuels.
When Darby Carr wanted to save on his power bill, he and his partner saved up and gave each other 7.2 kilowatt solar panels and an 11 kilowatt hour battery for Christmas.
We've been loving it ever since. It's been the best thing we ever did.
It's a gift that keeps on giving at their Tempe home.
The average winter bill I was having would have been around between $450 and $500. That can go now between $40 and $85.
From Friday, homeowners can get a discount on installing a new solar battery, with the state government offering an incentive to accredited suppliers, which is passed on through a local installer.
Shop around and get a quote, but it's open to anyone who's looking to install a battery.
The cost of installing a solar battery varies from around $15,500 for a Tesla Powerwall 2, $12,200 for a BYD and $11,400 for a SunGrow, each with around a 13 kilowatt hour capacity. The subsidy applies to batteries with storage between 2 and 28 kilowatt hours. You could save up to $1,150 to install a new 6.5 kilowatt hour battery or $2,400 for a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery.
Somewhere between sort of 10 and 15 kilowatt hours would be more than enough.
If you do decide to go ahead, get a few quotes from installers to make sure you're getting a good deal. You can also go online and visit solarchoice.net.au or solarquotes.com.au.
We've got the arrival on the market of a whole range of quality but much cheaper batteries, so really the rebate is the icing on the cake.
In Leichhardt, Kate Creedon, 9 News.
Two of the longest wait lists you'll find, early learning centres and doctor's appointments. Well, now you can do both at the same time. The Education Minister rolling out a free health check program for 4-year-olds to help get them set up to speed before they start school.
Opening wide. Stretching tall.
Very good.
Weighing in. What did she say when she measured you?
Big and strong.
Big and strong, that's good. Cutting, writing and colouring.
You're ready for big school with that writing.
A big day for little learners at Angels Preschool in Mount Druitt, getting their health and development checks.
It's crucial. We know that lots of children are not getting their Blue Book checks after 18 months.
Nearly half of students are behind when they start school, but through this program, 4-year-olds are checked the year before.
We want to bridge that gap if there may be any additional need or we need to support their health and development.
We've got an allied health team that we can refer to, speech pathology, occupational, there's paediatrician, GP, dental, and also we give parents resources.
Saving parents the cost and wait for a doctor's appointment.
It's very convenient, especially when I have like 3 kids, it's very convenient to me.
Launched last year, 7,000 children have already been checked and supported. This program will now be rolled out to another 880 early learning centres, with the Minister announcing $7 million in grants today.
We're going to be rolling this out right across the state in conjunction with New South Wales Health, and the proof is in the pudding. These kids are going to be ready to start kindergarten, many of them next year.
At Mount Druitt, Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
A world-first fertility test kit for men, allowing sperm samples to be collected at home and popped in the post for analysis. The popular fitness app giving away highly confidential travel details of world leaders. Those stories after sport with James. $8 million code hopper Joseph Swali'i reveals his mentor.
Won't have fond memories of as he pulled on a green and gold jersey. Swali'i explained the impact Wallaby outcast Israel Folau has had on his career. Bauman Inga admits there's room for improvement, but reveals his likely team for the Pacific Championships final. Plus the wonder goal, which sparked the Matildas in an upset win over Germany.
And we are expecting some showers this week, and I'll tell you when the wet weather will arrive shortly.
The switch to electric reaches new heights.
It's revolutionary, really.
The Sydney company with plans to plug in for takeoff.
This is an opportunity for us to lead that pack and introduce this technology internationally.
The start of a new era in flying.
The race is on.
9 News, your news, tomorrow at 6.
Israel Folau's religion-based fallout with Australian rugby divided and threatened to bankrupt the game. But he's now been revealed as a mentor of rugby's $8 million man. Former Rooster Joseph Swali'i pulled on a Wallaby jumper in Sydney today and explained the huge role Folau has played in his life, both on and off the field.
A boyhood dream realised.
It's kind of surreal. You kind of just, putting on for the first time was, it's pretty cool. I had to go to the mirror, have a look at myself to see. It's kind of, pinch me moment.
Joseph Swali'i in Wallaby Gold, armed with a pointed message for critics who say his selection cheapens the national jersey.
I'm doing my own path and dreaming how I want to dream. Everyone else can have their opinion, and look, I'm just living the life I want to live.
The crosscode superstar is being embraced by his teammates, but it's his long-term association with Israel Folau which may raise the eyebrows of rugby officials.
Yeah, I actually met Israel when I was 14. I really looked up to him when I was younger. I feel like for a young kid, I feel like I really wanted to ask a lot of questions. I feel like it's been one of my strengths, just learning. And I feel like Israel was someone I could look up to and ask questions to. And every now and then I do catch up with him, and he's a great mentor in my life.
A fellow high-profile code hopper, Folau was forced out of the game for a controversial social media post, which a young Swali'i liked on Instagram.
He's a great man, first of all. I feel like that's the biggest thing I've learned, is always be a great man outside of footy.
On the field, a fleeting State of Origin cameo gave Swali'i a taste of what to expect in the spring tour.
There's a balance between a lot of things that you've got to go into them games, and I feel like I learn a lot, even though I only played 7 minutes of the game.
Already plotting how to use his time in rugby league to make his mark in the 15-man code.
At league, you got to embrace contact and go after contact too. So, yeah, I feel like once get a game in or even at training, I feel like it could be a point of difference.
Nicole Dunn, 9 News.
The Kangaroos are set to roll out the same 17 for the Pacific Championships final. Coach Mal Meninga of the belief consistency could be key to reclaiming the cup. Despite their win over the Kiwis, Meninga says his side hasn't achieved anything yet.
A successful trip across the Tasman, but the Kangaroos are a long way from satisfied.
We like to win championships, so the Pacific Champs, Cup is still up for grabs.
Australia will find out on Saturday whether they'll face New Zealand or Tonga in the Pacific Championships decider. But Mal Meninga's mind seems made up on who will run out.
We probably, need to go with, the same 17, but, we'll make decisions over the next week or so. I think there's still room for improvement in us, well, I know there is. Combinations, cohesion, that's all really important in making sure that happens.
It's a different approach to last year, where the Kangaroos were crushed by the Kiwis in the final. That's still front of mind.
It takes a while, and the headlines have been fairly ferocious over those 12 months.
For now, though, he wants his players to switch off, assembling in camp on the Central Coast on Sunday.
For me, I was back to family. I take my kids to school and probably do as I tell, because the wife tells me to do something, I'll do it.
Sam Jordan, 9 News.
Well, in a sport which thrives on personalities, none is bigger than the legendary Gai Waterhouse. She's searching for just her second Melbourne Cup, pinning her hopes on Just Fine. But it's Gai herself who sets a cracking pace.
An entree to the Cup Carnival at Leamington this morning, breakfast with the stars. But around here, there's really only one star.
You again?
Gai Waterhouse has an endless amount of energy, some of which is spent engaging with the media or punters in general. For an industry which focuses on favourites, there are no favourites in Gai's world. This little bloke might just be the exception.
They can sort of be a bit phobic. He's a phobic.
Separation anxiety?
Oh, absolutely.
No, you or the dog?
No. I'm fine. The dog.
Luckily, racing didn't lose Gai to acting. Her CV includes 70s Aussie soap, The Young Doctors, and Doctor Who.
Are we going to let them stay then?
But when your dad is the great Tommy Smith, the bloodlines win out. A spring clean reinforcing that.
I decided to clean Dad's trophies, and there were 4 Cox plates that I had to shine up, and it was such a joy looking at them.
Gai has accumulated a few trophies of her own, not to mention an unrivalled reputation.
She was quite funny yesterday to me. She cares more about everybody else than herself, and she took her jacket off and made sure I was freezing. It was shivering, and she's like, "You have to wear that because you need to be riding in the Melbourne Cup." She was worried about my ride this week. She didn't want me to get a flu.
Gai will be joined by an old on-again, off-again mate next week, John Singleton.
It's great to see people at Singo's age and that he's not a young man, and yet he's still getting such a kick out of the sport. I think it's fantastic.
Tony Jones, 9 News.
It was always going to take something special for the Matildas to beat Olympic bronze medalist Germany, and Kyra Cooney-Cross certainly delivered. It was her first goal for a country, and one to remember, the stunning long-range strike, sparking Australia's comeback, going on to claim an impressive 2-1 win.
I think it restores confidence again. It restores confidence in individual players. It restores confidence in the team, and it brings that belief back.
It's the first time the Matildas have beaten Germany in 19 years. And Manchester United has finally swung the axe, sacking coach Erik ten Hag. The Dutchman has been under more pressure for the last year, overseeing the club's worst ever Premier League finish in 8th. This season, they're currently 14th. United legend Ruud van Nistelrooy has taken over on an interim basis. Pete, with talk of a £15 million payout, I think Eric will be all right.
He'll be OK. Thank you, James. Next in 9 News, Myer to take over leading brands Just Jeans, JJ's, Portman's and Jackie E. Plus, the world's first at-home test for men to check their fertility. A popular fitness app exposing the confidential whereabouts of world leaders. And the hat that saw a father kicked out of a popular pub.
Just Jeans, JJ's, Portman's, Dotty and Jackie E are some of the brands Myer has bought from Premier Investments for $950 million. It will also give the billionaire owner of the company, Solomon Lew, a seat on the board of the department store. Shares in Premier surged 10%, while Myer dipped after initially rallying 7%. Elsewhere, it was a steady day on the share market, up 0.3%. Despite the media storm surrounding the Prime Minister's Qantas flights, the airline hit a record high. The Australian dollar was down, buying 65 US cents, 60 euro cents and 50 British pence. And all eyes will be on tomorrow's CPI data, critical news for potential interest rate cuts.
Thank you, Dougal. A popular LGBT pub has kicked out a patron over a hat. Rob Holt and his family was visiting the Wickham in Brisbane's Fortitude Valley when he was asked to leave for wearing a Trump 2024 cap.
She said, some people in here don't feel safe and they're a bit worried with you wearing that in here.
Rob is seeking an apology while the venue is yet to comment. An Australian health tech company has developed a revolutionary fertility test for men, and it can be done from home, making it not only convenient but affordable.
John Bamborough and his wife Gigi always wanted a family, and thanks to IVF they have 2 beautiful children. But the process wasn't always easy, especially when it came to testing John's fertility.
It's pretty horrible, really. They'll send you to this room, designated room inside the hospital, and you basically go through a waiting lobby where other people are sitting, and they basically all know where you're going and what you're doing.
Now there's a way it can be done from the comfort of your home through the Sapien test kit. A patient can collect a sample at their own convenience before mailing it to a lab.
The kit in itself is a collection jar. It contains a proprietary stabilisation medium. What it effectively does is increase the viability of sperm samples from its traditional 1 hour all the way to 3 days.
And it's the fraction of a cost of an in-clinic option.
If you're buying at retail, it's $149. If you come through one of our healthcare practitioner partners and they make a referral for you, you could get a rebate of up to $45 in the test kit.
With 1 in 6 Australian couples utilising IVF treatment, fertility specialists say this is a game changer, especially for those living in rural and remote areas.
It provides options for people to access high quality fertility care and also be able to have their pre-testing done closer to home rather than needing to travel to one of the major cities.
Sapien will soon be as accessible as a pregnancy test, with the kit being rolled out to pharmacies around the country.
Makes it really easy for men to access IVF with their partner for the lowest price possible and still get the highest accuracy rates.
This test may not be suitable for a small number of patients with existing medical conditions. Isabel Quinlan, 9 News.
The highly confidential movements of world leaders could be tracked by popular fitness app Strava. French newspaper Le Monde made the discovery when it was able to track the French president by following the Strava data of his bodyguards. It also found it could monitor the movements of Kamala Harris, US First Lady Jill Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Coming up in our news, Amber with the weather.
Thanks, Pete. Tonight will be mostly clear, only dropping to around 14 or 15 degrees overnight. Right now, though, it is still 18 in the city, 21 in our west. I'll have your full forecast next. It was a warm and partly cloudy day with an afternoon sea breeze, reaching 24 degrees in the city. That is 2 degrees warmer than average. 25 in Kellyville, Parramatta and Liverpool, and 26 in Penrith and Campbelltown. We've seen a few light showers along the New South Wales coast today, but it was generally less than a millimetre. Temperatures quite mild along the coast, only reaching 21 in Newcastle and Batemans Bay, while in contrast, inland areas were warm, reaching 29 in Dubbo, 27 in Mudgee, Wagga Wagga and Albury. Tomorrow, the northern tropics will see showers, storms and lingering heat, while a front will bring cooler winds to the country's far south and showers to Victoria, Tasmania and southern South Australia. Brisbane will see a possible shower, 27 degrees, partly cloudy, and 27 in Canberra. A cooler 21 on the way from Melbourne, with sunshine for Adelaide and Perth. New South Wales will be mostly sunny tomorrow, just a possible light shower around Coffs Harbour. Temperatures warming up along the coast, while inland areas will be even hotter than today. Heading for tops in the 30s across the northwest, while the coast will range from a top top of 24 in Wollongong, up to 28 in Grafton. This is how Sydney will look tomorrow. We can look forward to mostly blue skies with light to moderate northeasterly winds. Heading for 22 degrees in Cronulla, 25 in the city, 29 degrees on the way for Liverpool and Campbelltown, and a summary 31 for Richmond and Penrith. That is 5 degrees above average. Looking ahead, Thursday morning will be sunny, but we could see some late showers move in with a possible storm, bringing up to 5 millimetres of rain. So Halloween could be a little bit wet. A shower or two on Friday and Saturday with tops of 23 degrees. Clearing up on Sunday to a hot 31. That warm weather hanging around early next week before another cool change moves through, with some very warm nights ahead too, ranging from 15 to 21 degrees. In our west, it will be hot on Thursday before late showers, a top of 31 degrees. A shower or two on Friday and Saturday with cooler tops hovering around the mid-20s. Then take a look at Sunday. It will be absolutely scorching, 36 degrees, with overnight lows ranging from 13 to a very warm 23 degrees. But some very warm weather on the way in the next few days. Pete.
All right, Amber, thank you. Ali is next with the current affair. That is 9 News for this Tuesday. I'm Peter Overton. I hope you have a good evening. From all of us, good night.